Tuesday means Dr. John Braccio Day, Regional Psychological Services. A little free help for you. Sometimes help and advice you didn't even know you needed. Are you dealing with adult kids? Do you consider them adults? There's that. You got a 21-year-old, 22-year-old making goofy decisions. Well, you know what? When they're babies, when they're growing up, we need to we basically make all the decisions for them, and then we tell them why when they can understand it. The hard part is for us to let go of that. Dr. Braccio is going to kind of get into that with us a little bit. Doc, good morning. It's great to have you back here on your morning wake up.
Well, good morning, Mike. Always good to talk to you. And I might add, a lot of these adult children in need are a lot older than 21, 22. But a lot of them, of course,
really?
Oh, yes. Some never seem to leave, and others are always looking for something. So, and one of the most difficult things for an adult parent is to separate themselves from requests from adult children that really are harmful for both. You know, good parents, you never quit loving your children regardless of their age. But problems occur when parents, regardless of the reason, find themselves helping out their adult children in a never-ending stream of needs, ranging from financial to overwhelming emotional. To help out a child in a difficult financial or emotional relationship situation is really what a good parent does. But when the help leads to dependency on the part of the children on their parents, then something really needs to change, or it will be a never-ending dependent relationship where the child will not be launched into life with its necessary responsibilities, but rather it's going to be living off their parents as if they are still young and dependent children. This is even more essential if the relationship has never evolved from a dependent child into an adult relationship. Now, if you find yourself, and this, by the way, is more common than you might think, in such a situation, really the following are the things you really need to try to do to hopefully just have an adult, loving family relationship. You've got to determine if you honestly enjoy the dependency and find it hard to say no because it makes you feel better about yourself. You've got to determine what would be reasonable boundaries, and boundaries are key to help yourself be more responsible as a loving family member, at the same time helping your child be a responsible adult. You want to make sure you do not allow your dependent child to use emotional blackmail, in the sense if you do not help them, you're going to be letting them down. They're going to see you as not doing what you're supposed to do as a parent, and they may even threaten that you can't see them or the grandchildren if you don't help them. Well, you really can't allow this to occur. And if your children are financially dependent on you, you need to set up a timeline when you're going to have them be responsible for themselves. A crisis will eventually occur when you stop the funding unless they begin to take responsibility for their own financial needs. And if your child is emotionally dependent on you and wearing you out emotionally, you need to really give advice when it is asked, but not become emotionally distraught yourself as you inappropriately take on the emotional burdens of your children. And accept you must stick to the boundaries you have set, and recognize that you must stop the process in order to have any lasting change. And if you're not able to do this yourself, well, set up these boundaries. You need to have, you need to find some support, some help. It can be bringing in family, friends, or an experienced therapist in such matters to help you. This is going to be difficult. And Mike, take my word for it. If you're somebody who you're looking after your children and they won't leave or they keep coming back, it's hard to bring about change. Oftentimes, this codependency has been in place for many years. It may have always been in place since your children become adults. Whatever the situation, the time to change the relationship into a healthy one is now. You both need it. So, common situation is we're in these times where a lot of times, kids can't seem to get launched. And it's not just the one in the basement who won't leave. These are adults that I need this, I can't make my rent, the kids need this, on and on. And so this is more common and becoming more common. So now is the time to, take a time out, look at the situation, and really realize that ultimately you're not helping the child by, basically continuing to treat them like a child when they're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old. But more common than you might think, and just a situation you don't want to get into, Mike.
Well, and I would say this in the parents, this could really be a problem when one parent thinks one way and the other parent thinks the other way.
Absolutely.
Typically, I think it's dad will go, listen, you guys are on your own. You make up your own decisions. You're old enough. You've got the tools you need, and maybe mom has a hard time. I don't know if that's typical or not. I've seen it.
No, you have a good variable. That happens a lot, where you have one parent who is far more codependent and feels they have to be helping out, and it even can lead to arguing and fighting among the parents, as one is trying to launch the kid, the 40, 50-year-old, and the other one says, well, really Mary or Chucky needs his help now. They're raising the kids. They may be doing it alone. They can't find a job. They don't have a good job, and on and on and on. And a lot of these may be some good reasons, but there's a need to have the person be looking to focus to take control of their own life. And again, when parents are totally involved and overly involved, and in effect are really treating them still like their children, it really doesn't work. But again, you're variable. You often do have that where one parent, it just even does it under the table, will be giving money or doing things without the
Here's
other one knowing.
50. So, yeah.
So believe it or not, it's something that people have to really take a look at. And it's a codependency. Like often the parent is getting something out of it. Chucky or Mary keeps coming over. They need this, and we have the finances. We can do it. We can help. Or I can't, when I hear my daughter or my son is having all these times, I just become overwhelmed. I become depressed. They feel better and they leave the house, chipper, running off, and all of a sudden all the emotional, drudge is all of a sudden falling on me. So these are things, if this happens, you may really need to bring in family, friends, or an experienced therapist who can help you navigate your way out, because otherwise you're not going to help the person. And another problem, it's the controlling one too. You better do this. I need it. I didn't ask to be born, and I need help right now. And you have a duty, or I'm not going to come over. I'm not going to call. You get the silent treatment. Oh my goodness, these things become more complex.
Yeah.
I don't want to say every person, but if you were to go to a Walmart, a Meijer, or some big store with a bullhorn and say, hey, how many of you have kids that they're still dependent and wanting things from you as adults, watch out, because you might get run over. But I think you're going to find there are quite a few of them out there, Mike.
I would suppose there's also a component of this where the quote-unquote child, who is now an adult, really, look, I get it. I make my own decisions. I understand this. And mom and dad, or one or the other, mom or dad, will not let go. That kid's just going to bolt, and you'll never see him again.
Well, that is true too. I mean, see, that's a different situation. See, the dynamics in family or any situation are never really easy. That's why reading a history book is easy, because at least you know the outcome. Where if you're living in the day-to-day life of families, things become very involved. And there are a lot of very loving, caring people in these situations. The thing is, if you really want to help the person that you're dealing with, like your adult child, you really have to your goal is to launch them. You want them to be successful, move forward, make their own decisions. You can always advise them. And I think being a loving parent doesn't really end. I mean, I was close with my parents, up until the end when they passed on. There's nothing wrong with that. And certainly I try to be very close with my children. The main thing is not to be meddling and not to allow them to meddle in your life or cause conflicts. It's a husband-wife duo. All of a sudden, you're getting all this pressure and you're fighting among yourselves, so you're not sure what to do. So but you really do have to take a look at this, because a lot of families are in these things, and sometimes they just take it, well, I guess this is just what's going to happen. But in the long run, it's the goal of the parent has to be to launch a child, that they're successful, they move forward, and they're able to fend for themselves. That's what we want in life.
Just real quick as we wrap up here, it can be entertaining sometimes. Like we moved back to Michigan to take care of Lisa's folks. Now, Mom's since passed, but Dad is 88, and it's funny because he still tries to give advice, which I'm glad for. He's a wise guy. He's lived a lot of life, and I always respect him. But we get the same couple of sentences over and over, and the same stories over and over again. He forgets he tells us. So it's kind of comical and entertaining.
That could be true. Well, that sounds like it's a good interaction, though. But make sure you follow that advice you get every time you talk to him.
Yeah, there you go, over and over. Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services. As always, a good time, Doc. We appreciate it. We'll chat next week.
Okay, buddy. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
See you, pal. Bye. 1320 WILS.